Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. Apparently, finding your husband's soulmate on his face after a Las Vegas trip is not what they mean by expanding your social network. Devin, my husband of 10 years, waltzed back into our carefully manicured Montclair home on a Sunday night, looking like he had just won the lottery and discovered penicillin simultaneously. He had a glow, a smug little smirk that usually meant he had found the last artisanal kombucha at Whole Foods. But this time it was worse. Much, much worse. He dropped his carry-on, the same one I had bought him for his birthday, mind you, took a deep breath of the air I had meticulously purified with essential oils, and declared, "Sloan, I found someone better than you." Oh, honey. He had no idea who had truly found someone better, or more accurately, who had found a better life. Because while Devin was busy finding his true love in a city famous for making bad decisions permanent, I was busy changing the locks, transferring our joint account, and yes, dating our very attractive divorce lawyer neighbor, Quentin, the one who lives 2 houses down and actually knows how to use a dishwasher. Let us rewind a bit, shall we? It was Thursday, October 10th, when Devin, my dear sales director husband, announced he was off to Las Vegas for a critical medical device conference. Critical indeed. Critical for his ego, perhaps, and critically bad for his bank account, as it turned out. He kissed me goodbye, a perfunctory peck on the cheek, the kind you give a distant aunt at Thanksgiving. And off he went, suitcase in hand, a spring in his step, and a whole lot of marital obliviousness trailing behind him like a cheap cologne. I stood in our pristine foyer, watching him go, and for the first time in a long time, I did not feel a pang of sadness. I felt liberation, as if a federal holiday had just been declared in my soul. Our 10 years together had slowly morphed into a masterclass in passive-aggressive cohabitation. Devin was the king of leaving his dirty socks next to the hamper, not in it. He believed loading the dishwasher meant stacking plates precariously on top of each other, creating a Jenga tower of grime. His idea of a romantic evening was me watching him play a shooter game while he occasionally grunted in my general direction. We lived in a beautiful, sprawling house in a gated community in Montclair, the kind of place where the homeowners association has opinions on the exact shade of beige your mailbox should be, and where everyone pretends their lives are perfect while secretly judging your lawn. Our life was a perfectly curated social feed devoid of any real connection. I was Sloan Bennett, 34, a marketing manager who could launch a viral campaign in her sleep, but could not get her husband to notice she had cut her hair. So when Devin announced his Las Vegas pilgrimage, a little light bulb flickered above my head. Not a sad, dim bulb, but a neon sign flashing. Opportunity knocks. I had felt a slow burn of discontent for months. A quiet hum of there has to be more to life than this that had grown into a full-blown symphony. I had seen the subtle shifts, late-night texts he tried to hide, a sudden interest in his phone's privacy settings. I was not foolish. I was biding my time, waiting for him to make the first undeniable move. And Las Vegas was practically a neon-lit invitation for him to fail spectacularly. That Friday, October 11th, while Devin was probably sipping overpriced cocktails and making questionable life choices, I was having coffee with Quentin, our neighbor from 2 houses down. Quentin, a sharp, impeccably dressed man in his early 40s, is a divorce attorney. We had always been friendly, exchanging pleasantries over mailboxes and at the occasional neighborhood block party. He has a kind smile and eyes that actually listen when you speak, unlike Devin, whose eyes usually scan the room for the nearest television. "So, Sloan," Quentin said, stirring his latte, "you seem unusually calm for someone whose husband is at a work trip in Las Vegas." He had a way of cutting through the suburban veneer with a gentle, knowing smirk. I laughed, an honest sound that surprised even me. "Let us just say I am embracing the quiet," I replied, then leaned in conspiratorially. "Or maybe I am embracing the opportunity to finally get a good night's sleep without someone snoring through 3 walls." He chuckled. He understood. Later that afternoon, I sat in Quentin's home office, a room lined with casebooks and framed degrees, and an even more impressive view of his meticulously kept backyard. "Sloan, are you sure about this?" he asked, professional concern creasing his brow while his eyes held a glint of admiration. Devin had been less than subtle, and I had been doing my homework. I had gathered evidence for weeks. Screenshots, deleted messages recovered, even a hotel booking confirmation from a previous conference that was not what it seemed. It was all there, a neat little package of betrayal. Quentin, I said, steel in my voice I had not known I possessed. I am not just sure. I am ready. By the end of the day, the paperwork was initiated. The joint account was in the process of being transferred to a new solo account in my name, and a locksmith was scheduled for Saturday morning. A rush of adrenaline surged through me, more potent than any retail therapy. It felt like my lungs finally had room to expand. Saturday, October 12th dawned bright and clear, a perfect autumn day in New Jersey. The locksmith was efficient, changing every lock in the house. I had him rekey the garage door opener, too. For peace of mind, I told him with a smile that probably looked a little too triumphant. That evening, Quentin and I ate at a charming Italian place downtown. It was not a date in the traditional sense, more like a strategic planning session disguised as a pleasant meal. We talked legal strategy, asset division, and the best way to handle a man who thought he was untouchable. We also talked about books, travel, and the absurdity of homeowners association meetings. It was refreshingly normal. Sunday, October 13th, Devin made his grand re-entrance. He pulled his shiny black sport utility vehicle into the driveway, the engine's rumble once a signal of home, now an alarm bell. He walked up to the front door, fumbling for his key, that triumphant grin plastered on his face. He tried the key. It did not work. Confusion crept in. "Sloan," he called, annoyed. "The key is not working." I adjusted the silk robe I had bought for myself and opened the door just enough to reveal my composed face. He looked disheveled, still radiating that obnoxious glow. His eyes scanned my face, then the freshly painted entryway, then back to my eyes as realization dawned. "Sloan, what is going on?" He tried to push past me, but I held my ground. "Devin," I said serenely, "we need to talk." That is when he delivered the line he had probably rehearsed on the plane. "I found someone better than you." He puffed out his chest, expecting me to crumble. If only he knew. I opened the door not to our home, but to his new reality. He was walking into a legal and financial ambush of my design. "It means," I said, "that while you were off discovering your soulmate and apparently the cure for cancer, I discovered life without dirty underwear on the bathroom floor is infinitely better." His confusion curdled into anger. "This is not funny. Let me in. I am tired." As if I were a misplaced garden gnome in his house. But it was not his house anymore, not in the way he thought. "Tired?" I echoed. "I am sure. Las Vegas can be exhausting, emotionally and financially." I let that hang. He flinched. "What are you talking about? And what is with the locks? Did you actually rekey the house?" "For the first time in a very long time," I said, "I am perfectly sane. Yes, the locks were changed yesterday, Saturday, October 12th. His face went from flushed to chalky. "And the joint account," I added. His eyes widened. Dread landed. "Our joint account," he whispered. "What about it?" "It is no longer our joint account. As of Friday, October 11th, the funds were transferred to a new solo account in my name." "You cannot do that. That is illegal. That is theft." "It is perfectly legal," I said, "especially when one spouse has been systematically draining funds for business expenses that align with weekend getaways. My lawyer assures me it is all above board." "Your lawyer?" he sputtered. "Quentin," I said. "Our neighbor. He has been wonderfully helpful. Very insightful about marital assets, infidelity clauses, and the legal ramifications of a husband jetting off with a colleague while his wife is at home, patiently collecting evidence." "Evidence," he croaked. "What evidence?" "The late-night texts. The burner phone you thought I did not know about. The Miami conference that coincided with a luxury hotel booking for two. I am a marketing manager. I analyze data, spot trends, and anticipate behavior. You were a very predictable campaign." I paused. "And your soulmate, the one who is better than me? She will be a topic in our divorce proceedings." His bravado evaporated, leaving panic in its place. "She would not." "Would not what?" I asked. "Would not leave you? Would not take your money? Would not turn out to be a professional con artist who saw a mark?" His head snapped up. "What? How do you know that?" "Because I pay attention," I said. "When you started rhapsodizing about this amazing, brilliant spiritual woman, my professional brain saw red flags. I did what I do best, research. I began with her social media. It was curated to perfection, too perfect. Hashtags, inspirational quotes, staged photos from retreats, generic comments. It looked like a vision board pretending to be a life. I had an advantage. My old college roommate, Aisha Grant, works in financial forensics for a major firm in New York. She owed me a favor from a disastrous spring break trip to New Orleans, where I saved her from an impulsive wedding. I gave her the basics, your soulmate's name, her alleged background, the timeline. Aisha is a digital bloodhound. It turns out your soulmate, whose real name is not Serenity but Brenda Mae Jenkins from Des Moines, Iowa, has an extensive history of finding love with financially comfortable, emotionally susceptible men. She specializes in what Aisha calls romance scams with a side of asset stripping. Las Vegas is her favorite hunting ground. Her pitch about curing cancer? I continued. A classic. She preys on men with a savior complex. She probably told you that you were the only one who truly understood her vision, that you were her rock, her inspiration. He nodded, stricken. It is in the playbook. She even has a fake charity website, a shell corporation registered in Delaware, and a habit of moving funds through offshore accounts faster than you can say Internal Revenue Service audit. He sagged. The sales director who prided himself on shrewdness had been played by Brenda from Des Moines. Poetic. While Devin was falling headfirst for Serenity, Aisha was tracking the digital breadcrumbs. We found transfers, shell accounts, the whole scheme. She did not just empty the joint account. She also tunneled into his personal investment portfolio, his cryptocurrency wallet, and even that secret savings account he thought I did not know about. He lifted his head, eyes red-rimmed. Why did you not tell me? Why did you let her do this? Because you would not have believed me, I said. You were intoxicated by new love. And because it served my purpose. While he was being conned, I was getting my ducks in a row. Quentin filed the initial divorce papers, citing irreconcilable differences and, importantly, financial misconduct. But she took the money, he sputtered. Exactly, I said. And you gave her access. You neglected marital assets. And you were off with another woman while I was left to uncover the damage. Legally, that looks very bad for you, especially with evidence of infidelity. Quentin pointed out that those business expenses can be reclassified as marital waste. Guess who gets a larger share of remaining assets to compensate for that waste? Me. He looked around the living room at the life we had built, now irrevocably altered. So this is it. You are taking everything. Not everything, I said. Just what is fair and legally mine. You will still have your carry-on. And a very expensive lesson about trusting women named Brenda who claimed to be Serenity from Sedona. He deflated. What about the house? The house is mine, I said simply. I purchased it before we married. While you contributed to the mortgage, Quentin assures me that with your financial misconduct and infidelity, it is a clear win. I have already started refinancing. Fresh start. The main event began with all the subtlety of a bull in a china shop. If the bull were named Quentin and the china shop were Devin's rapidly crumbling life. The divorce proceedings were less a negotiation than a strategic dismantling. Quentin presented the evidence of infidelity, those illuminating Las Vegas photos and the messages to Serenity, with surgeon's precision. Then came Aisha's financial forensics report, a masterpiece that laid bare Brenda's operation, with Devin's emptied accounts as Exhibit A. Your Honor, Quentin said, voice steady, Mr. Bennett's reckless and negligent actions, fueled by an extramarital affair, constitute marital waste and demonstrate disregard for his spouse's financial well-being. I sat, composed, in a tailored navy suit, the picture of the wronged but resilient wife. Devin looked like he had been run over by a lawn mower and left out in the rain. He tried to perform contrition, to paint himself as Brenda's victim, but the judge was unmoved. Mr. Bennett, she said, voice dry as desert bone, while the court sympathizes with victims of fraud, your diversion of marital funds and your admitted infidelity present a clear pattern detrimental to your marriage and your wife's security. The evidence is compelling. The gavel fell. The house was unequivocally mine. Salvageable assets were apportioned in my favor to compensate for marital waste. His pension and company stock options were on the table. He was to pay a substantial portion of my legal fees. The suburban grapevine, a force more powerful than any federal agency, did the rest. My social posts were subtle, dignified, and undeniably hinting at betrayal. The neighborhood buzzed. Devin became persona non grata at the block party. Former golf buddies suddenly had scheduling conflicts. Even his beloved fantasy football league replaced him. Professionally, the whispers reached his company. They could not fire him for personal matters, but performance scrutiny tightened. His once stellar numbers plummeted. No more Las Vegas, no more conferences. His trips were just trips. He was a hot mess in a tailored suit. Weeks later came the twist. Aisha, still on Brenda's trail, tipped off the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Serenity was not small time. She was part of a larger network. The news broke on national television, a segment about multi-state romance scams. There, in all her glory, was Brenda's booking photo, looking far less spiritual and a lot more ordinary. The irony was exquisite. Devin, from his smaller apartment, must have choked on takeout. He was not just a husband who strayed. He was a cautionary tale with a headline. My new normal was marvelous. The house felt lighter, cleaner, infused with fresh energy. I repainted the living room a vibrant teal. Too bold for Devin, just right for me. I turned his dusty home office into my personal yoga studio. I hosted brunches with friends, complete with mimosas and sharp humor. My marketing career thrived. Clarity and focus from dismantling my old life translated into brilliant campaigns. I even earned a promotion. Crisis management, as it turns out, is an excellent teacher. One crisp afternoon at Whole Foods, I spotted Devin in the produce aisle, looking lost, staring blankly at a bag of kale. He wore an ill-fitting hoodie, a far cry from his designer athleisure. Our eyes met. For a split second, I saw the man I once married, before delusion, before serenity, before the fall. He gave a weak nod. I offered a small, polite smile, tossed an avocado into my cart, and went on my way. No anger, no bitterness, just a profound sense of victory. He was no longer a shadow over my life, just another shopper grappling with the mystery of greens. The power dynamic had shifted completely. He, who once held the reins of our shared life, was adrift. I, once invisible, was captain of my own ship. The humor was not in his suffering, but in the absurdity of his downfall. A man who thought he was a player being played, and a woman he underestimated rising from the ashes, sharper and more self-assured than ever. The universe, it seemed, had a wicked sense of humor, and I was finally in on the joke. As dusk gave way to daylight, I found something more valuable than a clean slate, a polished, slightly cynical perspective. They say what does not kill you makes you stronger. I say what does not kill you becomes excellent material and a surprisingly good reason to redecorate. My life had been a carefully curated facade, and underneath, a slow burn waiting for a spark. The whole Devin and Serenity saga was not a tragedy. It was a darkly comedic coming-of-age story for a woman who thought she had checked all the boxes. I used to believe in the fairy tale, the white picket fence, the curated photos, the silent compromises. Turns out the picket fence was a convenient place to hang all the red flags I had ignored. It is remarkable how a self-proclaimed brilliant man can be so sure of his superiority, only to be outmaneuvered by the wife he barely saw and a scammer with a template. The greatest lesson: never mistake composure for complacency or patience for weakness. Devin, bless his deluded heart, moved into a studio apartment downtown, still trying to figure out the communal laundry machine. His golf game is as bleak as his credit score. He tried to re-enter the social scene, but the suburban network has a long memory. He is a cautionary tale whispered over rows at book club. A friend of a friend spotted him at a dive bar, explaining cryptocurrency to a bartender who looked desperately bored. It is almost sad, if I were not too busy enjoying my new patio furniture. The irony of a sales director struggling to sell himself a decent life is not lost on me. It is the kind of justice that makes you believe in consequences, and in excellent counsel. Quentin, my legal maestro, is fielding calls from people who want their own slice of justice. He is a local legend now, the courtroom equivalent of a headliner. Aisha expanded her practice, specializing in romance scam recovery and asset protection. She teaches a seminar at the community college called Do Not Be a Devin. Their success proves that even after betrayal, good people can thrive by cleaning up other people's train wrecks. As for me, Sloan Bennett, I am not merely surviving, I am thriving. I sold the house, because even with fresh paint, the old memories hung in the air. And I bought a chic loft in the city, with exposed brick and a skyline view, far from manicured lawns and watchful eyes. I travel. I volunteer. I am learning Italian, mostly to order pasta with flair. I started dating again. My vetting process is thorough. The freedom to define my own path is intoxicating, like finally choosing the music in your own car after years of tolerating someone else's questionable playlist. The ultimate irony is that Devin's attempt to erase me set me free. He wanted a new life with serenity, and he got one, just not the one he imagined. I got a new life too, the one I designed, without the suffocating expectations of a man who thought a pretty face and a steady paycheck were my only assets. I was the whole table, the chairs, and the 5-course meal. He thought he was trading up. He traded a feast for a stale cracker. Sometimes the universe has to burn everything down to show you what you are made of. I am made of steel, clarity, and an unshakable belief that a well-timed line can change a room. My story is not about being a victim. It is about being the architect of my own return. It is about realizing that the best ending does not need to be sweetened with advice or softened with apologies. It can be direct. It can be decisive. So if you ever find yourself staring down a Serenity or a Devon, remember this. They may try to dim your light, but you are the supernova. And when they least expect it, you will detonate on your terms, illuminating everything you choose to keep and everything you choose to leave behind. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.